You've probably heard of the Great Resignation, but have you heard of the Great Burnout? COVID-19 saw many companies introduce a working from home policy, which kept them afloat as well as their workforce employed.
Flexibility is the genie that has been let out of the bottle, and I think it'll be really difficult to put it back in.
3 years later, these policies are still in place, and we seem to love the flexibility. But does it love us? So what happens when we crash out of our jobs and search for something better? And is the grass even greener on the other side?
It's like really, you're going to work from home and you're going to make everyone else who made your car come work in the factory. You're going to make the people who make your food that gets delivered, that they can't work from home. The people that come fix your house, they can't work from home, but you can? Does that seem morally right?
You may remember scenes like this, where we were told to stay at home as coronavirus spread. Working from home quickly became the norm, and travel came to a grinding halt. Our home offices are now a mainstay, and it has given people looking for new opportunities the advantage when job hunting.
A lot of people realize that in their current environment, that they were not happy with what they were doing for work. And so they chose to vote with their feet and they left and went elsewhere. That was something that was a big phenomenon that occurred, in concert with the pandemic.
It's called the Great Resignation, and it's seen a staggering amount of people leave their jobs. Nearly 3 in 4 North American companies were having trouble attracting new employees in 2021. This fell down to low wages and lack of benefits, plus the idea of contracting COVID. This hit the US more than other parts of the world, as people began working from home during the pandemic and didn't want to make their grand return to the office.
One of the things that happened during the pandemic is everybody kind of figured out, hey, I can work pretty effectively in an environment that I never imagined I'd be able to work effectively in. And that was a revelation for many, and also came with some challenges as well.
Old habits die hard, as most of us have become used to the luxury of rolling out of bed and jumping straight onto our computers without commutes or unwanted social interactions.
And those who are truly winning in this environment are those who are willing to experiment and get feedback and change policies over time as they see what works and what does not.
It seems companies that have the highest retention rate of staff may be willing to change with the times and listen to people's needs. Many corporate jobs provide a hybrid option in order to accommodate a wide range of people.
There are an awful lot of people who really enjoy flexibility, and a hybrid work schedule is one that works well for them. And in fact, the majority of companies are selecting hybrid.
Working from home, you have the opportunity to concentrate and be more focused in a way that you naturally can't in an office.
When the pandemic hit, millions of people converted their kitchens, living rooms, and bedrooms into home offices. Now, 3 years later, companies want workers to return to the buildings they vacated.
But the question remains, is working from home truly more productive than going into the office?
What you're going to see more than ever is just a reimagining of what the office should be, what it should be used for. Because I think the footprint right now is not meeting the needs of the workforce of today.
Although working from home has its benefits, it also comes with its own issues. A complete lack of social interactions and team building can be detrimental to productivity.
What is going to motivate people to come in? And from the research that I have seen, it's mostly social. They come into the office in order to see their work friends, but it's hard to make the case for that, to come in whenever you go in the door and you feel like you are one of only a handful of people who have gone to work that day, and you end up on Zoom calls all day.
Businesses are finding it difficult to strike a balance of allowing their staff to be flexible, yet also providing an environment that can block out all of the distractions that come hand in hand with being on site. For some, working from home a few days a week is an excellent way to have the best of both worlds.
And I'm a great believer in working from home. And actually I do try to encourage our companies to be very flexible with people that work for the company, so they can if they want to work from home, they should be able to work from home. If they want to work from home on a Friday and a Monday, they should be able to do so.
As many successful CEOs point out, a work-life balance is integral to managing mental well-being.
Because you have work that is not confined to a physical space. And so instead of being able to basically close the computer and walk away, instead our computer is in the next room.
When blurring the lines between home and the workplace, people are finding it harder than ever to leave work at work.
During the pandemic, a lot of us were more available than we had ever been. So there was this expectation of immediate response to all of the digital pings that we would get. So that created this expectation that is even today occurring, where you're going to get back to me right away. And if you don't, I'm not going to be happy.
Are you feeling a bit more exhausted than usual? Maybe you're craving your next holiday. Well, Australian research shows that prime-aged workers, those aged between 25 and 55, are among those experiencing the greatest burnout. Half feel exhausted at work and 40% feel less motivated than they were prior to the pandemic. So now we're faced with the question, does working from home contribute to burnout?
And so that has created this additional burden that has seeped into our personal lives. There was so much bottled up demand for activity and socialization due to being, confined for the pandemic, that whenever we were actually allowed to engage, we certainly did, and we are.
After spending so much time in lockdown, we have been jumping at every opportunity to socialize and seek out new activities. This social vacuum has created an environment where we want it all, but can we handle it?
So we know that mental health became a crisis, obviously, over the last several years, and a lot of organizations have tried to address that by, having mental health days and having more support services. But the bottom line is, whenever their bottom line is impacted financially, some of those efforts take a bit of a back seat. And I think about the poor frontline managers and the middle managers right now.
The pandemic took a heavy toll on the mental health and wellness of workforces around the world. And in response, more support has been offered to help staff as they now recognise the seriousness of the situation. We're now dealing with the lingering impacts of the pandemic, and not only when it comes to mental health and well-being, but financial as well. As our economy limps back to health, companies are meeting this burden head-on and are trying to survive.
That we have a significant road ahead to get inflation down to 2%, and I think there's been an expectation that it'll go away quickly and painlessly, and I don't think that's at all guaranteed. That's not the base case. The base case is for me is that it will take some time, and we'll have to do more rate increases, and then we'll have to look around to see whether we've done enough.
And it makes it so challenging for them to be able to hear and feel like their employees are being heard and seen while they're dealing with their bosses who are also expecting more of them today than ever.
This creates a butterfly effect where we need our employees to be as productive as possible, but a part of that is a healthy mental state.
And they're also operating without a playbook, because the way you manage today is very different than the way you probably have managed for your entire professional career. And so that playbook is still being written, and there's not a lot of guidance out there on how to do that.
Flexible work may be working for some, while for others the future may seem uncertain. What does seem for sure though is that we're in uncharted waters.